The traditional pregame ritual of the New Zealand national team as we welcome you to Brisbane. Marv Albert, Andrew Gaze, Kenny Smith. Andrew, would you explain what we just saw as New Zealand gets ready to face Australia in a very significant game in terms of moving on to the semifinals?
Yeah, that's the traditional haka, and I reckon it's fantastic. I don't know of any other sport or any other nation that has a tribal dance like that, but in actual fact, although it looks pretty aggressive, it's a sign of respect to your opposition, and it is all about getting rid of the competitive spirits and all that type of thing, and warding away the competitive spirits and those types of stuff. So it is obviously there designed to, in theory, about promoting New Zealand and for their benefit, but it is an absolute sign of respect to the opposition.
Kenny, didn't your Houston Rocket teams do that prior to
I was
big
the
games?
lead guy. I was that guy in the front who started it off. That was me.
Yeah, that was Brendan.
Did you have to stand there?
You have
opposition.
You do, and it is disrespectful not to.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right, there you go. We get ready for Australia and New Zealand. Australia going the same way they did last night with the impressive victory as they beat Canada after losing to Brazil, which means that Daniel Egan remains in the starting lineup. Darryl McDonald will come off the bench. And New Zealand with one change. They're going with a big lineup. Damon Rampton, the younger brother of the starting center, Tony Rampton, is also in the starting lineup. And New Zealand controls the opening tip. Phil Jones gets it down low. This is Tony Rampton, and it's a 2-0 New Zealand lead.
I'm very surprised not to see Kirk Penny. Kirk Penny was one of the heroes in last night's game against Brazil in overtime, had 23 points, and to not get the start. But New Zealand worried about the size mismatches because Australia do have a big size advantage.
Paul Rogers, who had a sensational game last night, putting moves on Pero Cameron, and rebounded by Jones.
The New Zealand team, they like to play very much a half-court offense. They don't want to get involved in an up-and-down contest, and they want to use the clock. Whereas, in contrast, Australia really like to get it out, and they want a more up-tempo game.
Rampton putting the move on Rogers, trying to draw the foul. It's a traveling violation on Rampton. There are many possible scenarios in connection with what takes place tonight. If New Zealand beats Australia, they go 3-0. They clinch Pool B, moving on to the semifinals. If that is the case, that would be very clear-cut. If Australia, though, wins by at least 5 points, they will finish first in this pool. If Australia wins by 4, Brazil beats Canada, Australia will finish second if Brazil loses. Kenny will have the complete explanation of this, and we will not know anything till later on because Canada plays Brazil after New Zealand and Australia.
Well, the big thing is you control your own destiny. You better do it. Do not rely on anyone else beating someone else. That is the key.
Brett Maher has tied the game at 2. We are just underway at the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Center. Jones, Rampton, point guard Paul Henare, and here's Jones. Has that nice southpaw touch.
Yeah, that's a nice move by Jones. He really gets into areas of the floor where he feels comfortable. Yeah, he had the three-point shot, but he elected to take one more dribble in and get a little bit more space between he and the defender. Made a nice move.
And back comes New Zealand. Opening game Monday, beat Canada by 25 points. Ball will go back to Australia. Last night, they defeated Brazil in overtime.
And with just on 2 minutes to go in that game, they were 7 points down. So a really good confidence-boosting come-from-behind victory for the Kiwis. And they did it with a zone defense. A lot of junk defenses.
Oh, yes, and it counts. Nice move by Rogers. And he's fouled by Tony Rampton.
Yeah, the double team occurs out front, but anytime there's a double team, if you come and flash to the high post or the middle of the floor, you can get the ball. Rogers comes in, he makes a nice up and under move and gets a three-point play. Well, 2-point play.
Free throw shooting was a concern in the opening game against Brazil, just 6 for 16, but they picked it up last night. Game tied at 4, just underway. Jones, Rampton. Nice touch by Damon Rampton.
Fatigue could be a factor tonight. This is the third game in 3 days for both these teams, and I guess the advantage then would go to the Australians because they do have a much deeper bench and use a lot more players than the Kiwis do.
Jones from downtown.
But if your starting five plays so well, you don't need a bench play. Andrew, so they better stop the, you better make the New Zealand go to the bench if you're the Aussies or the Boomers.
This is Melmoth squaring up. Andrew, interesting that Phil Smythe stays with the same lineup. Daniel Egan making his first appearance at the tournament last night, played very well. Darryl McDonald sat out at the start because of a migraine and had been bothered by the flu, and then he entered the game and played very well.
Well, I guess if it's not broken, don't fix it. It certainly wasn't broken last night, and going ahead and kept Darryl coming off the bench. So I'm sure Darryl will come off the bench, but he'll play starter minutes.
Jones now being played by Melmoth. Jones a three-point threat. Jones has turned back. Melmoth on the rebound. Nice pass from Rogers. And the finish by Saville.
I think it's a lot more energy, would you agree, Andrew, by the Boomers over the last, from tonight over the last 2 nights. It's a big energy difference.
Here's Jones, quick release and way off. Saville, met by Cameron and lost the handle. Kirk Penny on the move, and he's fouled. He's blocked. Foul committed by Marr.
See the contrast in the way the Boomers are really trying to push it up. Speaking of Phil Smythe before the game, that was their key to really try and get into a full-court running game and not get bogged down by the Kiwis, and as they try and control the tempo of the game in their half-court sets.
Darryl McDonald has come on for the first time, replacing Daniel Egan. This is Cameron posting. Cameron rejected by Rogers. And the save by Saville. Saville had the ball knocked away by Jones, try to go to the crossover. Saville. Nice move by Saville, and Australia has taken a 10-9 lead with just under 5 remaining in this first quarter. Cameron rejected. We'll be right back. One of the stars of the New Zealand team, but sitting out because of that torn calf muscle. Let's go to Cheryl.
And Marcus, certainly has been frustrating having to sit and watch. What do you think about the team so far?
I think they've been doing great. You know, so many of them have played so well that, you know, it's making me sitting over here that much easier, but it has been really frustrating.
Out of 34 tries, New Zealand's only been able to beat Australia 1 time. How big of a win be for you guys?
That'll be unbelievable. You know, it's like for us somebody beating the U.S., you know, I mean, because they've been that dominant over us for that long. So, I mean, for us to be out here and get a win would be great.
All right, let's get back to the game. Let's go to you, Marv.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Mark Dickel played his college ball in the United States at UNLV. There's a strip by Flavel, who just came on. Judd Flavel with the steal. Nice lead. And Darryl McDonald playing the point now for Australia. Here's Saville for three. Rogers able to keep it alive. Marr with the step. Melmoth. Rogers again, and a foul. Cheryl mentioned the overwhelming success all time. Australia winning 33 of the 34 games played against New Zealand. The only New Zealand win was back in 1978 in the Oceania Championship, although Australia won that tournament. That was when you were a child.
I was, and my dad was the coach of the team back then. Very, very nervous moment having to drop a game. And that team has the right now the stigma of being the only team ever to lose.
Well, they came back and won the tournament, so
still.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. It's trying to make the Gaze family save your name. You wouldn't allow me to do that.
No, you got to take the good with the bad, and that was the bad.
Game is tied at 11. Flavel. Cameron played on the switch by Melmoth. It's Willie Burton who just checked in. Shot clock is at 4. Kirk Penny able to get it off. And apparently a problem with the 24-second clock. They'll bring it back.
Well, that's the difference in international rules. When the 24-second shot clock does go off, even though the other team has possession, the referees must call a stop to the game. It's a bad rule, and hopefully that'll be changed soon.
The officials: John McFarland of Canada, Alejandro Chidi, Argentina, Enrique Laria of Cuba. Marr looked like he was tripped up.
Yeah, he was tripped. The referee missed the call, but
leading to the 2-on-1.
The fast break basket was definitely a great 2-on-1, but he definitely tripped him on the defensive end.
And at the other end, Brett Marr able to knock down a 3. So the Boomers with a 1-point lead.
That's Brett Marr's strength right there from the corner. He's not a big guy, but shoots the ball very well from the perimeter.
Nice pass from Burton to set it up. And rebounded by Melmoth. Brett Marr did not have a good opening game, but he's really come on. Very strong last night. And there's Marr again from downtown. Australia 17 and New Zealand 13.
Australia has the ability to do that, explode with a couple, because they've got such great shooters that it's going to be difficult for the Kiwis to try and control the tempo when you've got great premier shooters.
Rogers on the block of Burton, who hangs right in and comes back at him.
Man, I'm surprised that he was able to get that second offensive rebound, because the size of the Boomers have seemed to bother the New Zealand team. But he was relentless in there. He got it blocked once, goes back up, goes up strong. I don't think he called glass, but he went in there and made a nice move.
Willie Burton out of Millen, Georgia, played at the University of Tennessee. Let's listen in on the Australia huddle. So Phil Smythe talking things over with his assistants.
We've got in right now. You have the option to fake fan out and make us some more, or go in and play free. If 11's on you, he's going to be in all kinds of trouble. Okay? Defensively, make sure we're on the glass collectively with this group. Then we're really looking to run. Okay? So offensively, you can go to the 3 or 4, spread us out, get a feel if they're up and in, or a couple of sets. Okay? Defensively, make sure we communicate with each other, get on the boards, and we're looking to run. Now, here we go. Let's go, guys. Let's go, goals.
Very simple, straightforward instructions by Phil Smythe there. The way he runs his offensive plays, as we've seen over the first 3 days, it's not all that structured. It's very open passing game with some limited rules, and he puts a lot of faith in his players to make those decisions. But in a timeout, we know Kenny, and I'm sure very difficult to take in too much information. I think that Phil hit the nail
I
on the
took
head.
in a lot during the timeout. That was the most instructional time.
I recall Kenny
I
like
was
checking
on
the
it.
stands out during timeouts.
I had my computer working
Yes.
during timeouts a lot of times.
Rudy Tomjanovich would be looking at Kenny, who would every once in a while check in.
Talking to me, Rudy?
Yeah. Here's Marr again from downtown. That's his third three-pointer. He has 11 points.
And every shot, every one of those three almost from identical spot on the floor.
Australia up by 5. Penny forced to give it up by Melnith. Here's Penny for 3. And batted out of bounds by New Zealand. Substitution. Derek Moore has come on for the first time for Australia.
The Kiwis going to their, looks like he'll perhaps play a little bit of zone defense now and try and pack it in. Could be dangerous with Marr so hot from the perimeter.
Donald and Marr now in the backcourt. This is Marr feeling it. Not able to hit on that 3. New Zealand on the run, a little behind the back maneuver. Cameron with the lead pass picked off by Marr. McDonald. Nielsen kept alive. And the foul is called. Nice effort by Matthew Nielsen.
The size of the Boomers are really taking its toll, I think, on the New Zealand team, is where they really, after they get a lot of second shots, and if they don't get the second shot, they're able to back that player in and get in a better location and better path to the basket. So it's going to be a tough night.
And it was great ball movement by the Australians there, and I guess heeding the instructions of Phil Smythe, is crashing the glass and generating their fast break from their rebounding and, as you said, Kenny, their size advantage.
Foul on Dylan Boucher, who had just come on for New Zealand. And Australia has its biggest lead off an 18-6 run. They're up by 7. Final minute of the first quarter. Nice lead pass to set it up for Penny. 22-17, Australia leads New Zealand. Here is Moore. Rebounded by Burton. Good Flavel handling against Brett Marr. Kirk Penny. Flavel, I think that surprised Moore.
He went in and looked like he was going to go into a left-hand layup and then came up with something unconventional, but it went down.
Final seconds of the quarter. McDonald for 3. Good basketball here in the first quarter. And after one, it's Australia 22 and New Zealand 19.
It's one thing.
Convention and Exhibition Center. The Boomers of Australia up by 3 after 1. And Andrew, I would have to think that Phil Smythe is happy with the play of the first quarter. 7 assists on the 8 field goals. That's a good sign.
It is a good sign, and I think that that was the problem in the first night when we commented that all their offense was coming off a dribble. Guys just going one out individually, and that amount of assists reflects the way they're moving the ball and getting everyone else involved.
Oh, good pass.
And the foul is called. Tony Rampton, the man set up, will go to the line. Foul on Nielsen.
Flavel really, he gets into the lane. When he gets the ball, he makes hard penetrating dribbles, and that's something that could carry over into the medal rounds that they're going to definitely need if they face the U.S. team.
They're going to need that a lot more.
Earlier today, United States beating Cuba 111-70. Did not appear to be that close. The final score U.S. beating Mexico day 1 on Monday by Goodwill's game record 74 points. McDonald, yes, and it counts. What a move by the man they call Mr. Excitement, Darryl McDonald.
Mr. Excitement. Hey, Dean Mack looks like he's in his parks back in New York City. The hesitation move to the basket.
That's Darryl McDonald, born in New York. Played college ball in Texas A&M. Played in the CBA in the United States. In fact, made the all-defensive team in the CBA. Australia up 25-21. Flavel not able to hit, but it's put home by Rampton.
And Rampton's got a lot of experience against these guys because he plays in the NBL for Cairns up north and knows the players well and knows their tendencies. And that is unusual for D-Mac. It's something he's developed since coming to Australia, the ability to hit that three-point shot, and it's added a new dimension to his game.
The Boomers now lead 28-23, succeeding from three-point range, led by Brett Maher, who's hit 3 of 4 from downtown. Nice play by Boucher to save it. This is Jones, and knocked out of bounds by Saville of Australia. Reset the shot clock. Burton of the high post. This is Boucher putting the move on Moore. Nice fadeaway by Boucher.
When you look at these two teams, Australia definitely has a much superior talent, but there's something about the way the Kiwis have played throughout these Goodwill games. They're just being able to be controlled. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's certainly their composure on the offensive end.
What they do is they run their offense. They're gonna get the shot that they want. This was a tough shot, but this was one of the few tough shots that they will take. What they do is they get in their sets, and if you notice the Australian defense, and I don't think anyone has really pressured them to get them out of their offense. So they get everyone in their spots. Everyone does things. This is like practice. They're running through the offense, and they're getting the ball into areas of the floor that they want to.
Spoken like a true North Carolina Dean Smith discipline type player.
You have to run traps at teams like this. You have to get them doing things that they're not accustomed to. Make them make basketball plays instead of the plays that they've been making for the last 2 or 3 weeks in practice.
Nielsen going baseline, took the pop. Foul on Cameron.
Excuse me, Mark, but more instinctive. But you see, a guy like yourself would like those instinctive plays, so I don't think that would bother you.
No, being very slow and not being able to jump very well, I need structure.
Brett Maher is back on the floor. Oh, going Lance. Glenn Saville giving the Boomers a 3-point lead.
He's a great athlete, Saville. Puts the ball to the floor, and he's also developed a jump shot in the last few years. As Cameron
for 3.
He doesn't look like your typical athlete, but you better respect him because he's got good touch and very mobile.
He's typical. It's not a typical basketball player. It's a different sport, maybe.
Exactly.
Typical rugby.
Yes. Handles the ball well.
Yeah, he's got great hands.
Makes good decisions.
He's kind of the Meadowlark Lemon, so to speak, of the New Zealand team. He stays in the middle and he makes all of the decisions for them. Who's going to get the ball instead of the point guard? Another 3-pointer by D-Mac.
And the tip missed. Cameron on the rebound. Game is tied at 30. New Zealand has beaten Australia only 1 time in 34 meetings. The push shot that is off the mark, attempted by Flavel. 4 on 2. New Zealand, though, able to get back. Maher with no hesitation from downtown. Back comes Flavel. Good play defensively to break it up. Damon Rampton had it knocked away.
Good hands by D-Mac there. But I'd kind of like to see the Australians maybe pick them up a little bit more and put a little bit more full court defensive pressure and try and up the tempo rather than just sitting back and picking them up in the half court.
And if you do that, they're going to get to areas of the floor what they like. And that's what we were talking about earlier, is that a team who likes structure generally, most of the time, does not like the fact if you put pressure on them and get them out of their offense. And that's what you have to do against these the New Zealand team.
Jones with a quick release. Good hustle by Rampton. Sets it up for his brother. Damon Rampton able to chase it down. Tony Rampton scores, and New Zealand has taken a 32-30 lead. Nice play. The backdoor pass from McDonald to Saville. And they're tied at 32.
Well, I don't even think it's one person that can put pressure. It has to be a collective effort of 3 or 4 guys putting pressure on it, maybe running out. Even that play, there was a double team occurred, and then it made them do something else other than that they were accustomed to, and they had a difficult time scoring.
You're right, Kenny, but when it's very infectious when you see the guards out there putting a lot of pressure on.
Oh, I don't like that. I used to hear that all the time.
You'll see the fours. And
no, the big men don't have to follow our lead. Go and do pressure on it and start it up yourselves. Spoken like a true big man. If the guards aren't doing it, then I'm not going to.
No, it's not that he's not going to. It's just he's
Rubbish.
infectious.
Rubbish.
Do I sense tension here for the first time? There's no problems last night with Hubie Brown.
No, it was nothing
nice. Nice atmosphere. Just under 5 remaining in the first half. Australia and New Zealand tied at 32.
Little one-on-one that he wants to play.
Hey, I'm all for that. Because I know the big man won't pressure us from the outside, so I think I'll be ready.
Are you talking about a little one-on-one confrontation here?
No, I'm not a fighter. I got to take him on the court.
Paul Rogers on the line for Australia.
This is Paul's Achilles heel right here. He really does struggle from the free throw line.
He seems to be a good shooter, so that doesn't really make too much sense to me that he would struggle from the free throw line.
1 for 5 now at the line.
That's following up a 1 for 6 against Brazil.
And he shoots 9 for 10 yesterday from the field.
Yeah.
90% from the field and 3% from the foul line. It's a little different.
Jones felt that he was pushed by Saville, deflected out by Melmoth of Australia.
The pressure is starting to pick up. That is a good sign for the Boomers, if you're a Boomer fan.
Jones had it knocked away. Good play by Melmoth.
Good pressure again. Get into the fast break. You get the ball to McDonald. He's going to get the ball to the right people.
And Rogers lost it. Kirk Penny helping out. Down low on Rogers.
Seems like McDonald, he's a young 36. I mean, compared to you, Andrew, who may be an older 36, 37. He really is. I mean, this guy's still out here with these young guys.
I'm just slowly catching up to the color of my hair.
The shots keep coming, Andrew.
What did I tell you? It's a barrage.
Foul is called on Penny. Look at Willie Burton. Played at the University of Tennessee.
And he's a great story, Willie Burton. He was the hero of the game, one of the heroes of the game last night as well. Came up with the go-ahead basket.
Willie's 39 years old.
A young 39.
Foul called against the Boomers. Saville picks it up. Still Smythe, head coach of Australia, one of great players in Australia, one-time captain of the Boomers, 7-time All-Star as a player.
It's a low-scoring game, 32 all. The Boomers would love to see the scores up around the 40s. They want to get into close to the 90s, pushing 100 normally.
Well, they don't have the scorers, I don't think, that you guys used to have, the Boomers, with yourself and Shane Hill. Who's going to have to take those scoring roles since you guys are gone?
Well, I think that's where Brett Maher, we saw his shooting ability, but I think that, guys like Daniel Egan, you guys coming in, it's a little bit different. We're still going to want to put points on the board, but perhaps not so much from the perimeter, use our size advantage, power it in low. But New Zealand have done a great job of really dictating the tempo and slowing things down, as we said repeatedly.
This is exactly the style that New Zealand coach Tab Baldwin wanted. He said he wanted to slow it down, keep the score low, and that's exactly what has occurred. Tied at 32, 3:22 remaining in the first half. Tied at 32, 3:20 remaining in the second quarter. Cameron, little baby hook. Kept alive by Boucher.
Andrew, you probably know this, but it's really not in regard to what's going on right now, but that war dance that was going on at the beginning. If two teams were playing that were from New Zealand, who would do the dance?
No, I think it's only when you're representing your country and you're playing against an international game that would happen. Okay. But it's interesting when you see the haka done in the rugby games, and they kept their distance there, but in the rugby game they get right up nose to nose, and some big boys there, and as they're yelling out there, ha ha ha, and their spits going in the other guy's face and everything like that. It takes on perhaps a slightly different meaning.
Our production staff does the same type of traditional ritual prior to all telecasts.
That'd be called
the hokey pokey. Turn yourself around.
We have not seen a score in several minutes. Here is Maher. A drought at both ends. To be precise, we've gone 3.5 minutes. Oh, what a pass from Cameron to set it up for Flavel.
Yeah, Cameron, he makes a good pass. It looks like a good pass, but that's a pass that he didn't have to look, because they've been running that same play for the last 3 weeks. They've been running for the last 3 days, I've seen, and it's just the first time that back door was actually open.
Cameron on the rebound.
That's why you have to get them out of their offense, get them out of things that they feel comfortable with, because they're going to get late.
It counts, and the foul. And again, the setup from Cameron, getting it to Boucher.
And it's really just the Kiwis being able to dictate the terms. If we see in a play here, with great pass by Pero. And as you said, Kenny, when you've been doing it the last 3 days, and you've got your structure down pat like that, you know where guys are, you're able to anticipate where players are going. And as Australia tried to put a little bit more pressure on, get in the lanes, that opens it up for the backdoor blind pick play.
Point time, unless we're successful, and not successful, back to 5.
A miss or a steal?
No, a miss. All right, they get a basket, not successful, okay? All right, 1 possession, 4 defense, triangle 2, okay? We're going to defend Dench, 13, and Marr, okay? That leaves Egan and McDonald free to roam around, and Melmoth is roaming around too, okay? And we got to get a board in this possession, all right?
I'm starting to get real frustrated now, and I'm trying to look at putting it down because the shot's out forward. It's going to be a weird penetration.
All right, when we come down on the offensive end, let's run 1X for Kirk. We're going to nail this son of a bitch, all right? 1X.
Tab Baldwin directing attention to Axel Dench, who just checked in for Australia. 9-2 run for New Zealand. Meanwhile, Australia with only 2 points the last 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, the offense is really dried up, but it's interesting to see Tab Baldwin, and you notice that, he has his origins in the United States, but he's still able to, I guess, adapt and being involved with Kiwi basketball for so long. adapt to their culture and coach in a way that gets the best out of his players, because there's been a number of examples where American coaches have tried to just pick up in an international team, and it just hasn't worked because they haven't understood the personalities of the culture of the various countries.
Strong move by Egan, but he has not been able to score. Foul is called.
You know what the Kiwis remind me of? The University of Princeton.
Exactly.
A lot of fans might not be familiar with the University of Princeton, but they're a team, a college, a university that they're very deliberate in every possession. But if you can get them out of their offense and from being deliberate, you can beat them pretty easily. But if you don't, they get backdoor layups and wide open three-point shots like the Kiwis are getting.
Going back to the coaching days of Pete Carrill, who had great success at Princeton. Deliberate, smart basketball, efficient, very few mistakes.
And that's what you got to do when you haven't got the same sort of talent. It's a way to remain competitive.
Burton fires up a three. Rampton is on it. This is Flavel for three. And deflected out by New Zealand.
The Australian team's still very fragile, I think. You know, the win last night gave them a lot of confidence, but now you can sort of see them getting back into that mode where the anxiety level starts to get a little higher and the frustration so it has effect on the jump shots, but not with my man Daniel Egan from the Melbourne Tigers.
Daniel Egan came up big last night, a little slow to get started here, and he has brought Australia within one. 45 seconds remaining in the half.
This is a big possession right here for the Boomers. Going into the half, getting two back-to-back baskets would be a good momentum builder for the second half.
McDonald setting it up, looking for the pick from Dench. Here's McDonald. That was well done. Axel Dench came out to set the screen, and McDonald penetrates. The Boomers by one, and New Zealand holds for a final shot of the half. Rampton, Boucher, Rampton for three.
Good if it goes.
That is the end of the first half.
Offense, and the New Zealand team is very surprisingly having 26 points. I think that's a big disparity.
And also they pack it in defensively and almost dare the Boomers to take that shot from the perimeter.
New Zealand in possession as this second half gets underway. This is Phil Jones. Has the good touch from outside. Shot clock running down, and Jones had to go to the running hook, but too late. It's a 24-second violation. New Zealand comes in at 2-0. Opening game Monday, beat Canada by 25. Last night beat Brazil in overtime. Nice play, and Marr blows the layup. Australia at 1-1, lost to Brazil, and last night, very impressive performance. They defeated Canada. And there are many possibilities in terms of making it to the semifinals, the medal round. If New Zealand wins, they go 3-0. They finish first in the B pool. If they lose, all hinges on Canada and Brazil. If Australia loses, Brazil must lose for Australia to make it. And if Australia wins by 5 or more, they finish first in the B pool. Nice touch by Daniel Egan. So we will not know the final rundown in terms of the semifinals until after Canada and Brazil play following this game. Jones is fouled. Foul committed by Saville. Australia up by 3 points. Phil Jones goes to the foul line. Played in Finland and Greece before returning to New Zealand. This guy, Andrew, outstanding all-around athlete, a tennis champion at Nelson College.
Yeah, he is, and I guess that shows in his mobility on the floor. He's a smart player, and he's predominantly left. Every shot I think he's made from the field in this game, it's going left, and he likes to put it to the floor for that 1 or 2 quick dribbles and then up for a shot.
Boomers up by 1 point. Quick release by Egan. So Daniel Egan beginning to heat up.
And that's not his natural game when he plays with the Tigers. Maybe we need to make it, but he's hit a lot of perimeter shots, and he's more renowned for being around the paint, using his athleticism to jump over people. And that's probably about his limit as far as his range is concerned, but he's hit the last couple.
Right here, let's check in with Cheryl.
Well, Marv, just before the second half began, I spoke to Coach Baldwin, who was a little perplexed at the officials when it comes to the discrepancy in free throws. Australia got to the free throw line 10, New Zealand only 3. He also said that his players need to have a zero-tolerance attitude as far as fast breaks. They got to get back in transition. As for Coach Smythe, they need to speed the tempo up. And, Andrew, as you pointed out in the first half, you were surprised that Australia had not picked them up full court. They're going to try to disrupt them offensively and do a little more of that. And also, they have to do a better job of keeping the Kiwis off the offensive glass.
Zero tolerance on the part of Coach Baldwin. Nice move. Paul Henare going glass. And Australia up by 1.
It's great. I'd like to see Paul Rogers get more involved in the game too. He hadn't had a lot of opportunities, and I guess you've got to try and make him get some second shots if they're not getting it to you. But you know, nice to see a little bit more movement and let him have a few more touches and a little bit more chance to make his presence felt down low.
Good steal right there. You got to get some transition baskets if you can, if you're the Boomers, and this is a good shot right here. That's a good shot. Miss or make.
Egan able to hustle the rebound down. This is Marr off the head fake. And able to hit on the short range pop.
That's his first basket since the first quarter, where he exploded for 11 points, and good to see him still being aggressive, looking for his shot.
And last touch by New Zealand. Marr and Saville in the backcourt. Rogers up front with Melmoth and Egan. Bill Smythe going with the same starting lineup. Marr with the fadeaway.
That's a tough shot, coming off the screen, going full speed. Really didn't get his feet set, but he's feeling it right now, so he just let it go and knocked it down.
And the foul is called. Foul against Australia.
And there he is. He never really gets his feet set. He's fading back. The other defensive help from the corner comes out, and he still puts a hand up. Good shot by Marr.
And like most right-handers, I think, Kenny, it's a little bit easier when you're going to your left to pull up like that.
Offensive foul.
Obvious.
Yes, called on Kirk Penny, number 6. Darryl McDonald is back on the floor for the Boomers.
I think he might have been accustomed to the 2 referees in FIBA and thinking that third referee wasn't on the sideline, had the same view that we had when he just held the jersey and ran him over.
Rogers called for steps. Good play by Rampton, who was able to get position to cut him off. Meanwhile, New Zealand, in the midst of a drought, they have scored just 1 field goal, only 4 points in the last 6 minutes.
The one thing, Andrew, that you probably can attest to as well, when someone runs the same offense every time down court, you start to know what it is as well, just like these guys on the New Zealand team you start to go to the spots before they do, and that's what's happening now.
It is, and also when you're trying to milk the clock and use so much, a lot of the times as the game rolls on, your cuts don't come so hard because you know early on in the offense, you run a nice cut, you're probably not going to get it because you're playing the clock as much as you are playing the man. And
when the clock's running down or you're running that type of offense to combat that, you have to have someone who can really just break the defense down by themselves. And I don't know if the Kiwis have that one player that can just take the game over and you don't have to run an offensive four.
Well, Phil Jones finding the range. One of the quicker shots on a possession for New Zealand.
You're right, Kenny, but that's where Mark Dickel is badly missed in this lineup. As Ben Melman's playing some nice turnaround jumper because that's his strength. He's quick as lightning and can get to the basket and create things for the big men down low.
Dickel out with a torn calf muscle. He has missed all 3 games for New Zealand. There was the hope he would play tonight. Oh, Jones again from downtown. And it brings New Zealand within 2. There's Phil Jones. As you mentioned, all southpaw. And 4 of 11 overall. He has brought his team within 2. Scott McGregor back on the floor. And with McGregor going for that rebound and a foul. It's on New Zealand. Foul call on Cameron. That's his 3rd.
As you mentioned, Marv, earlier on, it's not just about getting the win here for Australia. The points margin and the spread is equally important if they're trying to finish first in the pool and avoid that crossover game against the USA.
Well, Kenny figured out all the tiebreaker possibilities for us. Points scored divided by points allowed is the qualifier, as you pointed out.
Australia really has to win by 6 points, Bob, and if Australia wins by 5, then they have to play Brazil. Then also, if Australia wins by 3...
You're going to completely complicate things even more now.
Okay.
That's terrible.
Okay.
Andrew, he's providing erroneous information. Here's McDonald. Nice save by Jones. Ball game tied at 47. Oh, the block shot by Rogers. Just under 4 remaining in the 3rd. Off balance shot, not a good shot by Jones.
That was a heat check, Marv. That's like, let me see how hot I really am. I've hit 2 long distance threes. I'm going to see if I'm really feeling it and going to just take the game over myself.
Egan tried to get the step, and a reach-in foul called on Dylan Boucher.
There's a lot more at stake than just simply this game with, in a week or so time when Australia takes on New Zealand to qualify for the World Championships. Big psychological advantage for the winner of this game to go and take into that series, which will be played in New Zealand.
And McGregor on the offensive foul.
I think it's already a psychological advantage for the New Zealand team because, now they played well against him, but here he just barrels in with ill regard to the defense. Could have taken a short jump shot, but I think the Kiwis have an advantage already going into next week's tournament.
Judge Flavel. Lead pass to Rampton. Burton the strip. Nice play. And the ball back to Australia. Now Matthew Nielsen back on the floor, coming on for Daniel Egan. Burton got a piece of it, and then from behind, Boucher stripping Rogers.
Willie Burton a little bit lucky there. He got a piece of the ball and a good chunk of McGregor's arm.
Shot clock at 5. McDonald working hard to penetrate.
It's a nice play and good individual skills, but Once again, there's a real lack of motion and movement away from the ball. It's almost everyone's going one out. Whoever gets it, it's their turn to have a crack and see what they can do off the dribble.
Boucher coming up short. Nice save by Rogers. So the Boomers back to the offense. 2-point lead. 2.5 left in the third. Rogers facing the double team, lost it. Flavel with the steal. Very aggressive defensive play by New Zealand. Backdoor flick attempted by Burton.
You would think that the backdoor play is a very successful play, but generally it probably works 1 out of every 5 times if you're playing against a good defensive team or even an average defensive team. Only the poor defensive team that it really works well against. And now the Australian team has really picked up their defensive intensity. I don't think it's going to work as much.
Off the goaltend, Australia has a 4-point lead. Here's Jones, rejected by Saville. Boucher. 3-second violation.
Talk about that backdoor play. You don't see too much of it in the NBA. I know with the Lakers, when they run that triangle offense, they every now and again will pick a few up. But in the NBL, you do see quite a bit of it. Maybe that's a reflection on our D. I'm not so sure.
Timeout has been called with 1:40 remaining in this third quarter.
In the NBA, in a huddle, it would not have been a family show.
Yeah, certainly PJ is a little bit more animated in timeouts than he was.
PJ Carlissimo, who knows from your San Antonio Spurs days, or rather Seton Hall days. Yes.
You know, getting back to that back door, too, you do see the back door in the NBA, Andrew, but they usually throw an alley-oop instead of keeping it out of the passing lane. So you do get it, but you have to throw kind of an over-the-top pass for it to be successful because guys are too good defensively in the passing lanes.
Coming up on 1 minute to go in the third. New Zealand with the ball down by 4. New Zealand having all kinds of problems scoring. Only this man, Phil Jones, has been able to score the last 6 minutes. Traveling violation. Once again, Darryl McDonald has done a nice job. 10 points for McDonald. And the touch by Glenn Saville.
This is where really the Boomers have a chance. The way, the style of play that New Zealand play when you're playing this very negative half-court offense, it's a lot harder to do that when you're 6 to 10 down than it is when you're 6 to 10 up.
Yeah, those shots, those 3-point shots that you're waiting for, the patience, it starts to wear out when you get down in a basketball game.
And instinctively, I think, as players, when you see your team down, there's that
hurry-up mentality. It's a hurry-up mentality.
We want to get it back real quick, and that forces a more up-tempo style of play as well.
Blocking foul was called on McDonald. Australia over the foul limit, so that will put Judd Flavel at the line. Damon Rampton checks back in for New Zealand. Judd Flavel, the backup point guard, 27-year-old. Cuts it down to a 5-point Boomer lead.
Which is the margin we're looking for if you're a Boomers fan. 5 points would see us through to win the pool.
Seven-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. Look out, that's a foul. And not a smart foul, as Matthew Nielsen was run into. Damon Rampton picks it up.
Kind of, you know, usually you don't run through a player on a jump shot, so that was kind of ill-advised and kind of shocking.
Matthew Nielsen did a good job of making sure the referee knew that he got hit, kicking his leg out there.
And the Boomers continue to struggle at the line. They're 5 for 11 at the free throw strike. Make it 6 of 12. 6-point lead. Down to 10 seconds remaining in the third. Flavel putting moves on McDonald. Flavel to the reverse. Oh, beautifully done.
B-Mac got a bit of his own medicine then.
And McDonald coming up short from center court. 3 quarters complete, and Australia up by 4, 54 to 50. Brazil wins. Australia ends up #1 in the pool. New Zealand is #2 if Australia wins by 4.
I've heard this somewhere before.
Man,
I've heard this. I think that's what I said earlier.
You were pretty...
I was on point. You said my information was erroneous.
I
need an apology.
I must say, I do not trust your mathematics. Fourth quarter is underway. Brett Maher back on the floor, not able to hit. Kept alive, though. Nielsen gives back to Maher for 3. Yes!
It's always great when you get that second chance from the exact same spot. You can make that slight correction on your shot. And Brett came up short, put a little bit extra in the second attempt, and nothing but the bottom of the net.
That's his 4th from downtown. And the Boomers have a 7-point lead. Here's Boucher, and he is fouled by Nielsen of Australia.
I think it's time for the Boomers to kind of play solid defense without fouling. I don't think the New Zealand team could really score without them fouling right now. They're having a very difficult time scoring. So let's see if they can hit a shot.
Dylan Boucher on the line. He's been a pleasant surprise for New Zealand. Hustling player. In fact, plays for Coach Tav Baldwin at Auckland. Boucher cuts it to a 5-point lead. Maher and Saville in the backcourt. Melmoth up front, along with Nielsen and Egan. This is Melmoth over Cameron. Then Melmoth extends back to 7. This matches the biggest lead of the game for the Boomers. Jones drawing double coverage, and it's deflected out of bounds by Saville.
Boomers look like they're cranking up their defense. A lot of it's run and jump, bit of helter-skelter stuff, but like you said, Kenny, when you're against a team that's trying to milk it and just trying to push them out of it, do something that they're not accustomed to, it's quite often be more successful than the fundamental sound defensive principles.
Yeah, I don't think the New Zealand team can get down in double digits and make a comeback. I don't think they're that style of team. So these are big possessions, these next couple of possessions, to kind of stop them from scoring. But they don't.
Beautiful setup for Kurt Penny. Good passing, keyed by Pero Cameron. And it's a 5-point Australian lead.
See, we used to have an expression on our team when I was with the Houston Rockets saying, okay, it's time to tighten the screws. And that meant offensively and defensively, we need to really focus in. And this is that point of the game where the Boomers have to tighten the screws and really focus in on stopping them and trying to score, because a 10-point lead will be demoralizing for the Kiwis.
Boucher on the foul, his 3rd. So the ball back to Australia. 8 minutes remaining in this 4th quarter. Australia trying to continue the bounce back after the bad performance in the opening game. And a 3 for Saville. The Boomers coming back strong last night, beating Canada 111-64. And they've picked up the play here against New Zealand in the second half. An 8-point lead, their biggest lead of the game. A traveling violation called on Boucher.
Kiwis getting a little bit flustered out there, sort of reacting to the helter-skelter defense and the pressure. I think they feel the wave of the Boomers now as they're starting to hit their shots from the perimeter. It's having an effect on them on their offensive end as well.
Nielsen off the head fake. Nice play by Egan with the box out and the bucket.
The screws are tightening.
Yes, a 10-point Australian lead. Cameron for three. Egan able to sweep it.
When you're down 10, that wide open three doesn't seem as easy. When the game is a must make, it makes you be a little bit more tentative and you don't feel as free flowing.
Nielsen. New Zealand has had a very difficult time offensively in the second half. Once again to the weave, and the foul committed by Matthew Nielsen of Australia.
We talked about what Australia has to do to finish first. There's also an equation what New Zealand has to do to make sure that they get themselves into the semi-finals. If all of a sudden they lose this by the score blows out, they can fall right down to third spot and miss out on a spot in the semis.
Once again, that will depend on Canada and Brazil that came to follow Australia and New Zealand. Timeout has been called. As you look at the New Zealand Brain Trust, the head coach Tab Baldwin.
He'd have to be pretty pleased with the way things are going, though.
We're going 20 here, all right? We got to be ready to work now. Carol, what I don't want you to do on the trap is I don't want you to cheat up now. They're big, they're looking over the trap into the middle, so play the middle, okay? We're still trapping hard. We want to get a deflection. Be ready to go on a deflection, okay? What we need is a rebound. That's what we need. We need a rebound. Got it? So we got to bust our tails defensively. Kirk, get him out of there. Muscle him out of there. All right? Going down the offensive end now. I want to go for a set, okay? Inside set, crosser LA, or basic, okay? Let's go. Come on, now.
Defense, 1, 2, 3.
Defense. Attack in the rim, guys. Come on.
Earlier today, the United States beat Cuba 111-70, a rout from the start. Argentina, solid team over Mexico, 105-77. And as you see, Canada and Brazil in the Group B pool to follow this game. Well, Judd Flavel is now 1 for 3 from the line. So Australia with the 64-55 lead. Just under 6.5 remaining in the fourth. Some pressure on the ball. Here's Egan. Yes.
Daniels come up big with some great perimeter shooting. A lot of energy on the boards. Pull down a couple of very big defensive rebounds and a big offensive one. So he's been a real factor for the Boomers after not playing a single second in game one.
11 points for Egan. Egan, one of the standouts last night of the win over Canada. Last touch by Boucher. 12 on the shot clock as Saville flips into McDonald, and a foul is called on Flavel. So they get the new 24. Now Phil Jones checks back in, getting a long rest. Had the hot hand earlier. Jones for Boucher.
The Kiwis really have to press up and do a lot, Kenny, in order to find a way to get back into this game.
Right now, the things that the Kiwis have to do to get back in the game are not their strength. They have to pressure which is not a strength of the Kiwis. They have to have a hurry-up offense, which is not one of their strengths, and they have to fast break. Those three things they hadn't done all game well, so it's going to be tough for them to get back in this game. This is a Boomer winning pool.
Well, they have taken over 9-1 run. Last couple of minutes, nice ball fake. Helmet's pass deflected out. New Zealand complaining that it was last touched by Australia. Here's Marr, has the quick release. And Australia pulling away. It's their biggest lead of the night, up by 15 with 5 minutes remaining in the fourth.
And their confidence is growing. You just see it's oozing out now. The monkey's off their back now. They've sensed just a little bit of a margin.
Blocking foul, charged to Marr. And a timeout is called. Brett Marr has had the touch. 20 points in all. He's game high. We'll be back in a moment.
And he's got an opportunity now, the playing time he's been given, to make a statement and show what he's capable of doing.
Shot clock is down to 8. McDonald with the steal. And last touch by New Zealand. Wait a moment. The officials are talking things over. And that was a good change of call because it was obvious.
Good change, but not a popular.
No. Blocking foul. Foul committed by Ben Melvin of Australia.
He's not happy with that, and
yeah, it's close.
It is a tough call to make, isn't it? Is he still sliding and moving a little bit, not quite in position?
See, the Kiwis are out of the game for probably a win, but the main thing is the point differential. They need to try to still play hard, play smart, and get this lead under double digits.
And then all will be contingent on how Brazil fares against Canada.
The form of Canada, you have to say that Brazil would win that one quite easily. Canada been very disappointing in the tournament so far.
Yeah, that's why the point differential is very important. So don't try to catch up to win. Go back to your offense and just do the things that you're good at, and then see if you can just cut into this margin and not worry about the win. Which is hard to do as a player just human nature.
Rampton. Well, Phil Jones in trouble, able to bail it out by finding the open man in Tony Rampton. If Australia wins by 6 or more and Brazil wins, Australia ends up first in the pool, Brazil second, and New Zealand does not make it to the semis. If Australia wins by 5 and Brazil wins, Australia would be first and New Zealand second. It's very complicated based on the point system. Points scored divided by points allowed. Did you devise this system, Kenny?
Well, I wanted to come up with a
really works well.
I wanted to come up with a simpler approach, but yeah. I wanted something that only I could understand if it happened.
We're with you there.
It is a very, it's points averages, and it's very, very simple. You just divide by pi, subtract by the temperature of the weather, and
on a Wednesday.
But if it's raining outside, we got to have a different. I'm going to change my whole thinking.
All right, Melmoth at the line. It's one of those scenarios where check your local paper tomorrow morning. But we can tell you a victory by Australia by at least 5, and then a Brazil win would put Australia as the top seed in their particular bracket. Rampton. Rebounded by McDonald. Australia with the ball up by 14. Here's Marr on the medium range shot. Under pressure, kept alive by Saville. They get the new 24. Melmoth. Time running out on New Zealand. Just under 3 to go.
See, this is not their game. They need to get back into it. Just get that lead low. They can't make those instinctive, quick plays.
And Kirk Penny thought he had Judd Flavel cutting along the baseline. And did not.
I think that New Zealand really needs a timeout more than anything to kind of get regrouped, to kind of let them know what the situation is. I don't know if the players understand the situation.
2 on the shot clock as McDonald was able to get it off. A very slow developing 3-on-2, and Rampton came up short. And Australia using the clock here down the stretch and no rush.
Australia, I think, will be very aware of the what it's going to take to get it into that first position, and the clock is what they're working now, and just trying to make sure they maintain their buffer zone.
There's that timeout that New Zealand just called that they needed.
Foul was called on Flavel. New Zealand has scored only 21 points in the second half. Just 7 in the fourth quarter.
And give credit to the Australian defense. You know, the game was very much in the balance at three-quarter time, and they've been able to come out and crank it up a notch and turn it on.
1-point game at the half, 4-point game after 3. That's a 3-pointer for Cameron. 6 points for Cameron. And the reach-in foul is called with 1:40 remaining. 13-point Australian lead.
And already they're starting to play the clock, trying to make sure they stop the clock and hope they miss. Although with their 13 down, they're thinking more about that margin now. Really, in their mind, they're probably 6 down or 7 down, depending on what the final figure is. It's going to get them into the semi-finals.
Aaron McDonald hits 1 out of 2.
They're only down 7 differential-wise, so that's big.
New Zealand having difficulty locating a shot, using too much time here. 10 on the 24. Nice pass. Rampton coming up short and then able to hit. Tony Rampton with 12 points, so it is 74-62.
D-Mac looks like the man they've designated as the guy they're going to try and foul. He was 1 of 2 last time, but when he gets the ball, Tad Baldwin going out to foul him.
I think they're asking, where's Rogers when you need him?
Foul was called on Jones, so McDonald with his 12th point. New Zealand is over the foul limit. Australia now leads 76-62. Nice pick by Saville. So that one-hop pass coming, and he was fouled. Foul on Rampton.
I think they went into the foul game a little bit too early. It's 24-second clock. The Boomers have to shoot. They had to shoot. 1:50 left. For two or three possessions, they had to shoot the basketball, and you could have started the foul situation what they're doing now with about 40 seconds to go to see if you could have gotten back into the game.
That's right, Kenny. Starting to look like a college game like back in the U.S. We're trying to stop the clock, where the shot clock is a lot different. It's a lot longer in the college game, so they tend to try and foul a little bit earlier.
Oh, look out. The officials have to get between Rampton and Melmoth
be a smart play if they could have gotten technical out of it. Maybe that's what he was thinking. They cannot play hurry-up offense. That is something that the Kiwis have a great deal of difficulty doing.
Foul committed by Jones.
They're really struggling to get, not only, as you spoke about earlier, Kenny, that that's not their strength, but they're not even getting shots up. With 3 turnovers the last 3 times down the floor, and it's totally not their game.
So it's Glenn Saville at the line. It's 14 points. And a strong game. 6 of 7 from the field, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. And it's a 17-point advantage for the Boomers. Just under 1 minute remaining in the game. Here's Cameron again from downtown. Saville able to reach for the rebound. And Derek Moore puts it down. Once again, the steal as Flavel was stripped. So the Australian success against New Zealand continues. Coming into today, Australia had won 33 of the last, actually all-time 34 meetings. The only New Zealand win was back in 1978 in the Oceania Championship, although Australia did win that tournament, taking 2 out of 3 against New Zealand. Final seconds. Crowd is counting it down. And Australia has defeated New Zealand 81-62. And now it is only a question as to whether they will finish first or second in terms of the Pool B. They now are headed to the semifinals.
So going into that last quarter, it was still looking pretty good, but the Tall Blacks running out of gas. Maybe it's playing 3 games in 3 nights. The Australians having and using the greater depth on the bench. Maybe the New Zealanders became a bit intimidated as the prospect of winning 3 out of 3 came nearer. Whatever the reason, New Zealand's place in the semi-finals remains in the balance, and a place in the Final 4 now depends on Canada beating Brazil. And the latest score we have on that, Brazil leading Canada 50-41, leading by 9 Brazil early in the final quarter. Before